Mark, the club CEO Jason Hurst says that you're going to be part of the club's interview process for potentially becoming the head coach of the club. What have you been told by the club?
Yeah, I mean, it's common knowledge. I was told from day one of taking on the interim position that I would be guaranteed an interview. The club have stuck by that. The club have done exactly as they said they would do. And yeah, I'll be sitting down with Jason and Nigel this week.
This week, not next week?
This week, yeah.
In terms of your record so far, 4 from 6, how do you feel you've done in this sort of interim period?
I think there's been a valid improvement, which we said right at the beginning there needed to be. I would have finished article, nowhere near, and that's the part that excites me most. Potentially going forward, that the development and the progression of this group, I think they're just starting to believe how good they could be, and if we can continue with that and make that grow a little bit more, make that self-belief grow, give them a bit more confidence and freedom to express themselves, and we've got a very good rugby league team here, which is exciting.
There's been 3 noticeable results on the road, all wins by 30 points on the scoreboard at Whitehaven, Widnes and Sheffield. That's got to be pleasing for you.
Very much so, yeah. And if you look at Sheffield, the last 3 times we've played them, we got beat. And they only scored 10 points. You go to Widnes on a really difficult track. They're playing it week in, week out, and we conceded 6 points and put 30 odd on the board as well. And then Whitehaven, we set off like an house on fire, and it's well documented that we had that 15-minute dip in the second half. But yeah, I think we've been very close to putting all 3 teams to the sword, and just not managed to do that. And that's that fine detail where if we can get that a little bit more out of the players, I think someday. Somebody's going to get a good hiding sometime soon.
And when you mention that progression, Mark, and you're a long way off the finished article, what do you mean by that in terms of how soon or would you expect the Bradford Bulls under you to be playing as you want them to?
Oh, listen, it takes time, Mick. And you can't put a date on it. It's about getting as much as you can out of each individual and then moulding that into a group. So. Yes, I've been in and around the group for a couple of years now, but when you're speaking to them with new ideas and new philosophies and new ways of thinking and behaving, then it all takes time. But what I can say is, to a man, every single one of the players has embraced everything we've spoken about, given me and the rest of the staff 100% commitment, and really had a dig and showed some pride in themselves, in each other and the club.
It's Dewsbury at home at Odsal on Sunday, Mark. That'd take your record with a win to 5 from 7, and obviously, potentially, that could have a bit of a influence factor on the ultimate decision. Dewsbury obviously are in a relegation fight. They're going to be really desperate and hungry when they play at Odsal on Sunday. Yeah,
and they're going to be revitalised, aren't they? Liam Finn's gone in there, who's a good bloke, and Liam will have them firing on all cylinders and really hungry, so we're aware of that, and there's nobody in this building taking Dewsbury Rams for granted. We've got some connections as a club with Mark Sawyer and the people like that there. Nothing but respect for Dewsbury as a club, and I've got some good friends who actually work there as well. So listen, we'll be preparing for Dewsbury just the same that we do everybody else, and there'll be nobody taking them for granted, I can assure you.
The fact that they're fighting for their championship future and they've got Liam Finn's first game in charge, like you say, is that the message to the players that this is going to be a different Dewsbury Rams to what has perhaps gone out there on the field previously this year?
The message is going to be that we'll highlight Dewsbury's threats, and then, as we always do, we'll highlight where we need to be better and concentrate on ourselves. So if we do that, and if we're aware of the threats and look to counter them with our threats as well, then I'm sure we'll be okay. We always give every opponent due diligence and really scrutinise their last 3 performances, and Dewsbury's been no different. We'll have a real good look at them this evening. We'll have a further look at them on Saturday morning. But yeah, we'll know all about them if we don't already, and we'll be ready when they get to Odsal.
What's the team news for the Bradford Bulls, Mark? 'Cause obviously you've had the week off. Hopefully some of those players not on the long-term injury list have managed to, like you say, revitalise, regenerate and go to them?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of injury news, if I'm honest. We had AJ Wallace struggling, in the Sheffield game, and when I say struggling, we could have patched him up and played him, but as a kid that we've got high hopes of and think a lot about, then we didn't really need to. We had the use of Alex Mellor from Leeds, so that was that. But AJ's put his back in contention for a shirt on Sunday. Other than that, Matty Dawson-Jones comes back into contention. He'll be in the 21 again after his knocks and things like that. And we'll be somewhere near how we have been. The really, really pleasing thing for myself is that, fingers crossed, we've got a few more checks to do on one or two of them, but Rhys Evans, Aaron Murphy and Dan Fleming will all feature for the reserves on Saturday. That's
big news in terms of their rehabilitation after what have been long-term injuries.
It is. I don't want to speak about Rhys too much because it's a personal thing. He's had an illness, and Rhys will tell people if he wants them to know what that was all about. But with Dan and Aaron, they've both cut a large number of weeks off the rehab. So I think Aaron had another 3 or 4 weeks to go on what we first feared. And Dan Fleming had another 7 or 8 to go. So it's again absolutely testament to the players, how they've worked so hard and been so hungry to get back in the squad. And I think it shows that there's an improvement within the camp and the group as well, because they're desperate to be back in the squad, back out on the field with the lads, and back in contention to play in front of our great fans at Odsal as well.
And in terms of Aaron Murphy and Dan Fleming, Mark, I think it's fair to say that they were really having strong seasons out there on the playing field. Prior to the injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you totally. I mean, I think Aaron Murphy were having the best spell he's ever had at this club, if I'm being totally open about that. And it was a freak injury where somebody landed on his knee, and that's rugby league, it happens. Dan had got himself into a position where he was starting to look healthy and act healthy, and again he's just got a freak injury. So both of them, like I said, they've been absolutely outstanding in their rehab. How they've been around the group, how they've tipped some of the young lads up and supported some of the senior players when they needed it. And I can't speak highly enough of all 3 of them, of how they've conducted themselves while they've been out injured.
In terms of their sort of return to playing for the first team, is it a case of play Saturday in the reserves, assess, and then potentially they might be ready for the game against Leigh on Sunday?
I'm not going to put any pressure on the 3 of them. So it'll be a case of gently catch a monkey, and we'll see where we go, sort of thing. So, we'll have a look. The minutes will be determined by the coach's eye on Saturday. So, if as staff we think that they're a little bit fatigued, they'll come off and they'll be put back in the dugout and rest up, and we'll go again next time out, because we've got another reserve game on Thursday of next week. So, if they come through unscathed and show outstanding, have an outstanding game, then there's absolutely no reason why they won't be in contention for Leigh.
That just leaves Sam Scott then on the sort of long-term injury list. What's up with Sam?
There's Sam and Billy Jowett. So Billy dislocated his shoulder, as we all know, against Huddersfield reserves, and we think Billy's is probably 4 to 6 weeks away. And Sam will be somewhere near the same years, maybe a little bit longer with Sam. He had a knee problem, and they was going to remove some cartilage in his knee. Luckily, when they went in, they found it was repairable, but to repair it instead of remove it meant the recovery was a little bit longer. But again, Sam's got to live the rest of his life and play the rest of his career on that knee, so we were more than happy to take the extra few weeks to make sure Sam was okay.
Those players that featured for Wales against France, everyone come through unscathed? Yeah,
everyone's fine. Yeah, I think it's done them the world of good as well. I know it's warm here, but I don't think it's 40 degrees like it was in France, at the weekend. So all played big minutes, all come through unscathed, and it's great to see them back in their Welsh shirts representing their countries and the families as well. It's good to see.
Can we expect any additions from the Leeds Rhinos? Obviously, Nigel and Gary and yourself and Rowan, close links this weekend.
Probably not this weekend. Yeah, probably not this weekend. It's they've had a couple of knocks in the mid-season tests. And last time out, Corey Johnson pulled up with a shoulder injury after he played for us. So they've got a couple of knocks, and it's well documented that a couple of their players have now left the club early and gone on to different clubs. So yeah, they're just reassessing what they've got, and then we'll touch base again next week.
In terms of moving forward, Mark, if you're still in charge in future weeks, how do you try and keep everybody happy when the option's available to bring in a Corey Johnson or an Alex Miller?
That's part of the coaching job, and that's the downside to the job. But when you're honest with people, Mick, it's quite easy to do. And what I said to the players from day one is this team will be picked on merit. So you've seen Miles Lawford in the 21-man squad for the last couple of weeks. That's not a token gesture. That's because he's earned it. And it might quite possibly could have been in the 21-man squad this week, but him, George Flanagan Jr., Bailey Arnold, and Joe Kellett are all playing for Yorkshire on Sunday. So I'd like to wish them well, and hope they all go really well and represent our club as they should do. But yeah, going back to your question, it's if you're good enough, you're old enough. And if you're old enough and you're playing well enough, you'll get a shirt. If you're not, and you're left out for whatever reason, I'm more than happy to explain my decision to the players. But I won't ever do it on a whim and a prayer. I'll always have a reason why, and I believe that this group of players are man enough to take it on the chin and fix up where they need to.
We've seen Lewis Camden, Miles Lawford in that 21-man squad, Mark. Can we expect, perhaps further down the line, a surprise debut for some of those young players that obviously are excelling and being picked for, like you say, the Yorkshire Lancashire Origin series?
Yeah, it's two parts to your question. Would it be a surprise if they're playing well? It wouldn't to me, No. So they're playing well in the academy, and I get to every game I can. I think I've missed one away this year, and take great interest in the academy as well, because that's a rock bed of our club, but that's as a scholarship as well. So if they're playing well in the academy, they'll get an opportunity in the reserves. If they play well in the reserves, the next opportunity is first team. And if I'm going to sit here and say that I think they're too young to play first team, what's the point of being here? So absolutely, if they earn the right, we talk about this a lot, Tom, you've got to earn the right. But if they earn the right, they'll get the opportunity.
Just a final point, Mark. Recruitment and retention for this year and next year, has it started? Who's currently doing it at the club? Because obviously, from a supporter point of view, with you yourself being an interim head coach, and obviously May the 1st, been there, gone. Other clubs picking up their recruitment for next year. How's it looking for the Bradford Bulls?
Yeah, it's busy. We call this silly season. It's like Christmas in a rugby league environment. Is this? But yeah, I've given some suggestions to Nigel and Jason, and at this stage, that's all I'm able to do. Going forward, if there's a new bloke comes in, he'll have his own ideas and his own squad. We've got a large chunk of the squad that are, probably about 60% of the squad that are contracted for next year anyway. But there are some coming off contract, and one of the two of them will be talking to other clubs, if not more. So everyone's well aware at this time of season that activity is going on. So yeah, I've given some suggestions to Nigel and Jason. When I sit down with them this week, hopefully there'll be some guidance on budgets and things like that, and then you can start to have a real good look at it. But just to put into perspective, I think I've spoken to 5 agents today, just today. And there's ways of doing recruitment. There's everybody's got their different way. My philosophy on recruitment is I want to play a certain way, and then I'll speak to agents and try and find a player that fits that way, rather than getting 20, 30 agents send you a list of players that are out of contract and picking them off the list. It's to me, it's got to be moulded around a way that you want to play, so that person that comes in fits like a glove.
Are you happy with how the RFL currently have the sort of dual registration loan situation for this year, Mark? Because there's a lot of players that just seem to be going here one week, then they're there the next, and chopping and changing. Very difficult to get continuity. Yeah,
it's messy. I think that's the best way to put it. I'd love to see the reserves be more of a structured comp and not need to dual reg here, there and everywhere, but we can't be hypocrites, because we've used it in the first team and the reserve level as well, and you know, what you've got to do is you've got to react to the laws of the game and the rules of the game and try and use them to the best of the club's ability, which we've done. So, you know, would I rather have a 45 man squad that looks after our reserves and our first team, you know, without going outdoors? Yes, we would, but that's not realistic. You know, nobody in this country's got that. You know, from your Wigans, you know, down to your Bradfords and even lower. So, you know, yeah, we'll use the rules wherever we can to get the best out of them for Bradford.
Have you been given any indication on the time frame of the interview process, Mark?
No, I've absolutely no idea who else is in, how many others are in. You know, all I know is I'm speaking to the powers that be this week. You know, and then they'll make the decision on what's best for the club from there.